What's going on, you guys? You're here with Nate28 and this is Crossbeats production. So I just want to thank you guys again. I really appreciate all the love on the channel. I really appreciate the comments, really appreciate you guys subscribing and also coming back to watch more and more of my videos, because it really encourages me that I know that I'm helping you guys out, and it also helps me in being able to teach you guys as well. So this video is about Neutron and the way that you can use the internal sidechain feature, which for a while it plagued me because I didn't really understand how it worked within Studio One, and after a bit of fiddling around I finally got it to work. So hopefully this video is helpful, because I haven't figured out anyone else that's seen it on, or I haven't seen it on YouTube, anyone else doing this for Studio One 3. I've seen it for Ableton, all this other stuff, but not for Studio One 3. So hopefully this is good for you guys, and otherwise let me know in the comments if it is or not. Either way is fine. So this is pretty easy to set up. It pretty much takes about all of maybe 2 minutes to really set it up and get it working properly. So what you'd want to do is, first off, I'll just start it from scratch. I'll just let you know how it all works. So first off, I've got this beat, I've got a kick and a low sub, which creates the bass, and obviously the kick creates the kick for the track there. I'll play you a section of the track and you guys can hear that, and then I'll explain to you how I've got this this kick and the bass sidechained. So let's play quickly a section of the track and I'll just explain this to you. Alright, cool. So that's the track right there. Just wanted to turn that up a bit so you guys could hear what was going on. So I'm in the mixing phase of making this track happen. I'm pretty much looking at either rapping on this track or having a collab with somebody else on this track. So look out for it in the near future. You probably will see either myself on it or somebody else with me as well. So anyway, the way that I set up Neutron was basically, you've got Neutron here, so all of these plugins, just forget that they're there, just ignore those because they're not actually connected to this subject that I'm trying to show you guys. So, okay, so what we've got here is the 808, the low end bass there, which is the sub bass. I'll just play that to you real quick. Actually, just leave this on for a minute. So, that's the low end bass. As you can see here, a bit of compression's happening. That's from another compressor that I've got going on here, the stock VST within Studio One. Nice compressor, it works really well. I'm going to do a full-on tutorial on this actual track, so if you're looking at this track and you're thinking it's good, don't worry, there's going to be another tutorial on how I did everything, how I created the track, how I did everything to it. So anyway, so let's stick with Neutron. So first off, you load an instance of Neutron on the instrument that you're working on, say that's the bass. For this particular tutorial, obviously, we're looking at reducing the bass like a sidechain. So what a sidechain is basically allowing another signal to control another signal. In this instance, it's being the kick. The kick would then push down the bass, so the kick can come through for a minute, and then the bass will go back up, and the kick will be away, obviously. So this is the technique that I'm using. You can actually use a sidechain compressor on the internal compressor really easy. That's another video if you want. Actually, I think I've shown it on my channel before if you guys watch it. But I'll do another video of that. So you can just hit sidechain if you want to, and then you sidechain it by using this link here. And then you just hit sidechain and you select the compressor, and then it sidechains the actual kick to the compressor. So that's one way of doing it. But I want to show you guys Neutron because this is the topic. So Neutron's open. We're turning Neutron on. Hit that activate button there. The EQ is the only section that we need to open because we're not using any other part of this plugin to do this. So EQ is on. What I'm using here is just a shelf. So this is a low shelf. It's basically just removing that frequency downwards. So as you can see there, that's scooped out. So if I was to turn this dynamic EQ off, all it would do would be remove a section of the bass, and that's all it would do. It wouldn't move, this EQ wouldn't move at all, it wouldn't be dynamic. But what you can do here is, if I just pin this to the screen and then I bring open another Neutron, this Neutron is located here, as you can see here on this channel here. I'll just isolate that. So that's Neutron on the kick. So I've got my bass here and I've got my kick here. So I'm working on the two low end parts of this track here. So what I've done here with the bass, this channel here, as you can see here, the bass is here. I've labeled that bass, so that's bass glide. So I might just put in glide, just so it doesn't confuse everyone. So we've got bass glide, so that's the bass glide EQ, okay? And then we've got Neutron here, which is on the kick. Now this is labeled kick, and I've got these next to each other so you guys can see them side by side. So what I've done with the kick, and just so you guys can understand, I've got the EQ located on here, and I have the kick pretty much at a 30 Hertz with a bit of a boost on a vintage setting, and that's at 1.6 at this stage. The reason why I used that setting was because it's more like a, I guess a Pultec EQ. You could use a Baxendale feature as well, but I noticed the curve on this vintage thing is more like this type of Pultec EQ that you'd see within hardware units or plugins and things like that. So I used the Pultec version that looked like the curve to me. So if you just move this up, that looks a lot like a Pultec EQ curve. So you know what that would look like. And I'll show you guys later on in more tutorials about EQ that I start to do, because I'm going to do some loads of tutorials this month coming up. I'm going to try and get as much information to you guys as possible. So anyway, that's the EQ. So I've got the EQ turned on here. Now, what you do to sidechain internally within this plugin, it's pretty straightforward. So what you'd first off do is you get your plugin here and you create what you would first off do. I'll just minimize these, get them out of the way. So you create another FX send. So you get this pretty much here. And here you've got the sends here. So this is the same thing you do for sidechaining on the compressor within Studio One. But what I've done here is I've set up a sidechain or an FX send where I've just hit add FX send, and it creates a new FX send here. What I've done then is I've sent the FX send, the bass glide. So if I just close that off here, and I'll just show you this one because I don't really need this anymore. So you create an FX send. This is what this is here. So this is the FX send that I created. That's the bass glide. What I did then was I sidechained that amount of the actual kick. So that was sidechained to the kick there. So as you can see, this is sending some of the kick to this FX send. And if I press play, you can see the kick is now on this channel here. So it's also sending the kick. It's from this channel here, sending to an FX send, which basically is an aux in essence. That's all it is. So it's sending that. You can control the amount of volume you want sent to it, or you can just leave it as is. I usually just leave it kind of as it is when it got set up there, or you can put it at 0, which is basically 0 unity there. So we'll just leave it at that. So as I play it, it's putting a send here. Let me just put it to 0. So we play that. Almost the same volume as the kick. Okay, so we've got that. So once you've got that set up, it'll automatically create a send for you, so you don't have to worry about that. I'll just remove this out of the way because I don't need it. So we've got the send. So here it would normally show you the main out, because that's where it goes to the main channel. So the main out is this setting, this channel here, sorry. So you can hear all the stuff come out of here. Basically every single channel I've got comes out here in the main out. So all you need to do that is just change this to the sidechain. And then once you see your sidechain Neutron here for the bass glide, that's what you would send it to. So you send it to the sidechain. So what that does is it activates a sidechain to go back into the plugin of Neutron. And then once you've got Neutron open, you'll see in a second here, when I turn this dynamic function on here, there's one more setting that you need to choose. So you go to external full. So normally you open this up, it'll have all these things here. They look really confusing, but really they're not. This internal stuff here, you don't use that stuff for this setting that I'm setting up. You just use external full. And that will then allow the plugin to know that this kick is going to this channel, which is feeding back into this plugin. And that's basically the setup. So if I play the track now, you'll see this start to move in a dynamic way. Awesome. So that's allowing it's allowing my low shelf to be controlled by my kick. So basically it's allowing the sidechain within this compressor, or not a compressor, but it's acting like a compressor, but this EQ to be dynamic. And then I can open up my kick, I can play that, solo it, listen to it, and then, you know, dip out what I need to. The cool thing about doing it inside of Neutron though is you've got this masking feature. So, you know, you turn the masking feature on, say I didn't have the kick sidechained, you would be able to see that there's a lot of masking happening in this area here. But because I'm sidechaining the kick, it's allowing me then to be able to play around with how much EQ I use on the actual low end frequency, how much I reduce out of that, and how much then I increase in the kick itself. So, you know, if you mess around with it, then you start to get the right ratio of each kick and bass together, and allows you to sidechain within this plugin, and then it'll work hunky-dory, and you're ready to roll. So that's pretty much that. It's just such a great feature within Neutron that you can do stuff like this, because if you weren't able to, you know, do stuff like that, you would obviously just sidechain it as you normally would within Studio One using a compressor. But then you got to worry about release times and things like that. With this plugin, obviously it does a lot of stuff here. So you can see this little threshold here. If you just put that more near the top, obviously it will release a lot quicker than rather than being right at the bottom here, where it's got to have the whole entire threshold go to 0 unity before it releases. So that's just a little release function you can use there that helps you on release times and things like that. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. That allows you then to get your instrument going. So as you can see, it's all there. Now if I play the kick, and the great thing is I can bypass this EQ, I can leave it off and play the kick again and just listen to it. So it allows me to have full functionality over the kick, the bass, how they both come in, you know, what controls what in what part of the actual track, and just allows the mix to be really cohesive and together. And then stuff like the kick and the bass aren't masking each other, and things are really clear in the mix. So I hope this video helps you guys out. I hope you understood what I was trying to show you, and if you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. But otherwise, love you guys, and more tutorials coming your way. And peace.